Linda. You can call me Alin. I am from the Marketing and Publication Division of Simonet. I am honored to be your moderator in this second IndoPed webinar for session 7, 8, and 9 for today's event. Before we begin the sessions, I am pleased to show you the Simio color video presentation. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to also inform our participants that IndoPed project got support from the Ministry of Research, Technology and Higher Education of Indonesia. And in this last day of our webinar, we have a recorded video from the Director of Learning and Students Affairs of Ministry of Research, Technology and Higher Education, Dr. Paristianti Nurwardani. Let's watch the video together now.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Honorable Director of Simolek, Dr. Abi Sujak, Honorable University Representative from European Union, in Holland University, Gedang University, Sheffield University, TUAS, and Business Academic Artus. And also, very good afternoon for all the faculty member from University in Indonesia, UNY, Unsia, BINUS, Widya Mandala, and UIN. Distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen, again, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon. It is my pleasure and privilege to welcome you all to this very important forum, the second IndoPed International webinar. This forum brings us to develop the modernizing Indonesian higher education with tested European pedagogical practices. This program has pilot projects in several universities in Indonesia. Like I said before, this project implemented in Universitas Negeri Yogyakarta, Widya Mandala, BINUS, Universitas Islam Negeri, and also in Unsia Aceh. Ladies and gentlemen, this project will bring our university and also will improve our faculty member to update the pedagogical strategy, and then this strategy will try also to improve the student competitiveness in era of ASEAN economic community as well as in a global situation. Ladies and gentlemen, in terms of the higher education, we have a decree of 12 year 2012, the higher education decree. In this decree, we have to implement student-centered learning. So because of that, the innovation-based learning is a link with the very important student learning process. Ladies and gentlemen, this program try also to introduce several pedagogical strategies such as learning by teaching, learning by learn, project hatchery, learning by case, innovation camp, storytelling, gamification, project module, and assessment rubric. There are very useful pedagogic strategies for our universities. And also, with these pedagogical strategies, we will believe that all the learning outcome of the student will reach very good. Ladies and gentlemen, Ministry of Research, Technology and Higher Education really try to support this project and also try to implement this pedagogical strategy to all over Indonesia. I do hope all the partners of Indonesian University try to have the sustained program in terms of the pedagogical strategy. And also, please implement all the pedagogical strategy in your university, and also please share with your university partner in all over Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, it's really have a lot of topic that we can discuss and share. Is the very important forum, the second international webinar. So because of that, I would like to convey that please all of you try to enjoy this very important meeting and also share your best practices with your university partner as well as in your faculty member. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, please allow me to open this second Indoped International webinar officially with Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and please enjoy and also have a fruitful second Indoped International webinar. Good luck to all of you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, that was the video from Dr. Paristianti Nurwardani. She is the Director of Learning and Students Affairs of the Ministry of Research, Technology and Higher Education of Indonesia. With this support from the ministry, we know that this project is not only implemented by the consortium members, but it's also known and encouraged for its continuous program by the ministry. Moving on to our first session, which is session 7. We will have 3 presenters in this session. The first one is Mr. Francis Reyes from Sevilla University, Spain. And the second one is Mr. Joko Mulyono and Ms. Brigita Revia Sandi Vista from Widya Mandala University, Indonesia. And the third one is Mr. Abdul Hamid Cheba from Syarif Hidayatullah State Islamic University, Indonesia. These 3 presenters will be discussing about learning by case method. The case method packs more experience into each hour of learning than any other instructional approach. It stimulates students' thinking and encourages discussion. It's also the most relevant and practical way to learn managerial skills. The core of case teaching is the facilitation of students' learning. In dealing with case studies, students are put into a situation in which they must make use of the concepts, theories, or frameworks acquired in other parts of their course through lectures and readings. Teachers encourage students to reach a personal conclusion about the central issues in the case and what to do about this in the light of their own assessment and the group discussion. In this session 7, presenter from Spain will explain about the method in detail, while Indonesian presenters will share about the implementation of the second pilot results. After all three presenters finish their presentation, there will be a question and answer session at the end for all participants. Now I would like to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Francis Reyes from Seville University, Spain. Dr. Francis Reyes, MSc, PhD, is a professor and researcher at the Faculty of Education at the University of Seville, Spain. He has been a Vice Dean for International Affairs during 5 years and has given numerous presentations and conferences on teacher training in several countries. At present, he is the team leader of the participation of the University of Seville in IndoPed project. He has also written articles and publications on teacher training. The implemented methods, storytelling, learning to learn, and learning by the case methods have been used for the last 10 years during his teaching at doctoral, master, and bachelor levels at the Faculty of Education in Sports and Science. So without further ado, may I please call Mr. Francis Reyes. You will have 10 minutes of time to give your presentation. Please, sir.
Good morning from University of Seville. I hope you can see my screen now. Okay. Let's see. Presentation. Okay. Let's go back. Okay, we're going to start this last day of the second international webinar hosted by Simulec within the InterPed project, and it's now turned to see a little bit more general issues about learning by case method. As you know, this has already been implemented in different universities in Indonesia, and we are very happy about sharing this session today with our colleagues from Indonesia. So really, how could we define teaching by case method? I would entitle it the art of managing uncertainty, because we really don't know what is going to happen, how we're going to go to the solution of the case we're going to propose to our students. I put you here some graph where we can see all the questions we have to ask ourselves in order to get to the solutions, and we have to guide the students to the solutions. So really, it's what is this all about, learning by case method? It's a process in which a lecturer serves as one hand a planner, because he has to plan the case, he's hosting the case, he's a moderator, like a kind of devil's advocate, he's also like a fellow student and a judge. And case study teaching is really, at the end, we're trying to find solution for real world problems and challenges with our students in classrooms. So what is the challenge? Of course, we have to prepare all our students for the world of practice. That is one of the issues in all of the universities all around the world, because we have so many theoretical teaching, but students need something to be connected afterwards to the real world activity, where they can use what they have been taught during their university studies or their secondary studies even, so that they can apply this knowledge in real-world situations. The case method is a form of course, it's instructor-guided, discussion-based learning, and it goes away from students, from teacher-centered teaching to student-centered learning. It introduces complex and often might be sometimes ambiguous real-world scenarios in classrooms, because we have to use could be something out of the newspaper, could be something out of a video, could be something out of a movie picture, or some other news on TV or whatever for our classroom, maybe in management or other courses, as you will see now where it has been implemented. They are used to discuss and to find a solution to the problem which is existing, and will serve the students to use all the theoretical framework they have been learning so far, to apply it in a scenario, let's say a real world scenario, where we can use all their knowledge and try to find the solution of the problem which has been proposed by the lecturer. So as I already said, it's a shift from instructor-centered model of education to a participant-centered model. Well, what is the role of the teacher in this complex method? It's about to guide the students to the discovery of a critical insight. He has also to lead some questioning, listening, and responding. We will see later on what is this about. So what about the students in this case method? They are the co-creators of their own learning process. They have, of course, they have to be well prepared. They have to prepare the case in advance at home, maybe individually, and then in small groups in classroom. And they participate also, other students in the classroom, as contributors and also as listeners to help others to learn. It is not only about that they should learn during the class, because the learning should continue after class, as students have to reflect on the discussions that have been led in the classroom. So what do we need to account for case method teaching? Of course, there are three very important things, as I already mentioned: questioning, responding. We have also, we as lecturers, we need to be able to ask the good questions to the right person at the right moment in the classroom to start the discussion. And as it is normal, as we ask him questions, we have to be able to listen actively to the person that's speaking, of course, and not only to the individual, because I would like to compare this to kind of conduct of the orchestra. You as a teacher, or we as teachers, we listen maybe to one instrument, but at the same time we have to listen to the whole orchestra, that which is a classroom inside where we are moving around with our students. So at the end we are managing the individual who is speaking, and we are also managing the entire group, which is presenting and trying to resolve the case. And as maybe we asking question, we are listening, we also have to respond to the questions that come from the students, okay, which is quite important. So what is important also for the teachers to prepare adequately case study? We need four things that have to be prepared. We need, of course, to know the content of our course. That is obvious. We need to know the students, because we need to know their interests and how they could maybe be implicated in all this case study. And then in our classroom, we have to create an environment where people, in this case students, can take risks. Of course, they must feel comfortable to maybe raise some critical issues about the case, so that they can be discussed. And of course, there has to be a message in our teaching, otherwise we are not good communicators. So if we want to prepare a class with case methods, we have to take into account different positions. The first position would be learning objects. What are the 2 or 3 principal objectives for our class? Second, what role does this class, where we are going to do it by case method, within our course model? Where's the position? Is it at the end, when the students already have the theoretical knowledge, and then they can listen to the lecturer, and then they go to case method? Okay. What is the impact on students' depth of knowledge, development of judgment and analytical skills, and the leadership capabilities? So these are questions we have to try to answer before implementing case method. And we need to know this, because otherwise our teaching has no direction. Then teaching opportunities and challenges. Okay, we have to find out which or what topics, point of tension or potentially surprising or insights can stand out in the case. How will we leverage all these to engage the students in a good discussion and debate? Of course, we have to find out the good topics that are interesting for the students to get them motivated to participate in case study. Second point, which is important in teaching opportunities, what is in the case might this audience find difficult or confusing? Because sometimes there might be some issues they are not understanding, and we have to try to find a solution to this issue as well. And by the time we have also to find out in case of the discussion goes off track. Maybe sometimes students are discussing a case in classroom, and sometimes discussion gets out in other directions. So we have to be aware of that situation and try to conduct it to the right discussion, and to go back to the objectives of the case study we initially were pretending to accomplish. So elements of effective class preparation for case method concerns also the class design, because this is the work that we have to do as teachers. So first, concerning the structures, what issues of pieces of analysis should be covered during the discussion? We have to ask this question and try to work on that before we start case method teaching. So how will we sequence this discussion, these areas or pastures, and how much time will be devoted to each of these? Because sometimes we may have some different groups working on the same case, and during one session of class we have to divide the time to each issue, each topic, and we have to see how much time do we give to each of the students. So how will your board plan, or how will our board plan as teachers support the class design and facilitate student learning? Is another question we have to ask ourselves and try to resolve before designing our class. Then once we open the case, so we have to think about which comments, if any, will we introduce to start the discussion. Maybe before we present the group who will lead the first case in classroom, we have maybe to make some presentation and introduce maybe a critical comment, or not so, maybe a surprising introduction, so that they get aware of the situation and get interested in resolving the case, and also the audience is interested in listening carefully. So of course it's not about only practical teaching, it's also about the rationale. What is behind our opening question? There must be a theoretical background. Of course, this has to be taught to the students before. So in order to have a good discussion, we will also need to select who is going to open the session from the student side. Maybe they can discuss it among themselves and then decide who is going to do it, but we must be sure that the discussion will start in the right way. Okay, so what about discussion leadership? What follow-up question will we use to motivate students to think beyond their initial contribution? We also need to know how we're going to lead the transition between each moment of the discussion which is led in our classroom. What question will we use to introduce each step following the opening discussion? Next question we have to use is how will we incorporate students' backgrounds into the discussion, because it is also very important to link the students to the case they are presenting. How can we stimulate students to think beyond this class and develop insights through linkages across classes, modules, and courses, and even their own personal life? So when we go closing our case study or case presentation during the class, how we are going to plan it? How is this going to be done? Is the teacher going to wrap up the discussion, or are the students required to make some summing up of their case presentation and present the solution and the results of the case? And sometimes maybe we have to find out which is adequate time we dedicate to the closure of the end of the class, because sometimes if you do it too much discussion on the end, it could be that we could happen that we forget about the most important things, and students just remember our wrap up and not some critical points we have been discussing during the class. So it's about to find out the adequate moments. So really, what is teaching with the case method at the end? So it combines two elements: the case itself, of course, and the discussion of that case. A teaching case is a rich narrative in which students must take a decision or try to resolve or to solve a problem. And why should we teach the case method, or why should we use these methods? Okay, so it's very important to see that the students do the work of the discipline rather than watch or read about how it is done by others. They have to work on that. They apply the concepts, techniques and methods of discipline, and that way try improve their ability to apply them. And case method, I think from our point of view and also from the point of view of our colleagues from Indonesian University, which have already successfully implemented this method, it brings in energy and excitement to the classroom. We had the opportunity to monitoring and see some case methods on site in Indonesia, and it was very interesting to see how students are motivated to participate in this different pedagogical method to improve their learning. So how to teach with the case method? Well, of course, we have three elements or three components which have to be brought together. It's an appropriate case. That is the work we have to do as a teacher, lecturer. And then we put together this case with the students who are prepared to engage with the case material in a discussion in the classroom. And of course, the instructor, that are the teacher, the lecturers, the trainer, who knows the case and has a plan for the discussion and is ready to deal with the unexpected. Because maybe we get beforehand from the students a summing up of their presentation or to see, but we still have to be prepared for some unexpected discussion or issues that could be raised up during the classroom. So of course, it's very important that the students are well prepared, because they need a previous theoretical background to rely on it, because otherwise the discussion cannot be fruitful. It's not only for the material in the case, but all for the type of discussion. So this is quite important, and I think we already saw that this has been done in the classrooms we have been watching, our colleagues from Indonesia, and this has been done very successfully. So how cases are used? Well, they could be used to teach theories, or they can be used to make an application work where the students choose which theoretical concept or empirical tools are most appropriate, and then they create a framework in which they cannot solve the problem unless they think about the tools they have learned and types of questions they can address. So again, theoretical background has to exist before we start case study. Characteristics of a good case study, of course, well, that is very relative, because we can see it should be, let me see, as short as possible. Because it should enable the students to work closely with the material and master the facts of the case. It should not be too vast, too enormous, so that they cannot have an overview of the situation and will be maybe bored or not motivated. And it encourages students to work with evidence. So they have to use both quantitative and qualitative data for varying degrees of different degrees of relevance. It could be included also irrelevant data, but sometimes it could be interesting. And they present it in a different kind of presentation: narrative, quotes, tables, charts, graphs, and so on. They can use all these methods. So well, of course, another characteristic of a good case is it asks students to make a decision or evaluation. It forces sometimes decision taking, in which the students take the point of view of an actor who must make a choice tend to engage students most easily, but equally effective cases can be constructed around evaluations of existing policies whose outcomes are known. And they are vital and contain realistic details and are set in a rich political and social context. So it's about, and if I may sum up, it's about using a situation we can find in our daily life, we can find in our teaching, we can find in our theoretical framework of our teaching. We can pick it out, throw it into the classroom, and try to find a solution to the problem. Maybe something we have read that morning in the newspaper about a company that has gone bankrupt, and maybe, I don't know, the management students can try to find the solution why this company has done so bad, and this has to be conducted by the teacher, the lecturer, of course, and among all the students and the teacher we get a good result of case study method. Okay, thank you so far.
Okay, thank you very much for the wonderful presentation, Mr. Francis Reyes from Sevilla University, Spain. Now we are moving on to the second presenters. We will have two presenters for this time, Mr. Joko Mulyono and Ms. Brigita Revia Sandivista from Widya Mandala University, Indonesia. Mr. Joko Mulyono is a lecturer and researcher at Industrial Engineering Department of Widya Mandala Catholic University, Surabaya, Indonesia. He has published journals and conference papers. His research interests include quality engineering, lean manufacturing, and supply chain management. He is teaching quality planning and control, engineering economics, Six Sigma philosophy, and supply chain management. He also teaches in Business Department and Food Technology Department of Widya Mandala. Ms. Brigita Revia is a lecturer at Communication Science Faculty of Widya Mandala Catholic University. She is a lecturer in corporate and advertising science, such as the basics of public relations, organizational communication, marketing, public relations, advertising management, media planning, and so on. Several of the courses have been selected to apply the learning by case method, which is organizational communication, advertising management, and media planning. Now, may I please call the two speakers. You will have 15 minutes of time to give your presentation. The floor is yours.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Brigita Revia, and in this time I want to sharing about my method who I applicate in advertising management studies, and I will start on this course or this subject, which is advertising management, extend in three credit credit unit, and this course is compulsory course, so the students must choose this subject when they on fourth semester. The description of the subject is student will teach us about the advertising, and the students can be interpret, organize, and management advertising produce based on advertising management stage in a good advertising agency. So they can make the advertising, and they learn about how advertising can be produced, and then they implement POAC in management planning, organizing, controlling, and actuating. I choose learning by case method in this subject because case method teaching immerse students into realistic situations. So they can have the real situation of managerial to make the advertising, which includes not only how about produce the advertising, it also they can analyze and learn how the situation when they make advertising. It stimulates students' thinking and encourages discussion. Not only is it the most relevant and practical way to learn managerial skills too. And this is the agenda of the subject. I divide it into two parts, before and after midterms. Uh, in before midterms, we talk about management concept on advertising, advertising rules, and who is the advertiser and the organization on advertising work. And then we discuss about the media of advertising, which is uh, three parts we can choose to publish the advertising: printed media, electronic media, and online media. And after midterms, we discuss about positioning and advertising research, advertising budgeting, which is they can learn about how we make the budgeting, how we spend the money for make and manage the media. And then we talk about creative strategy on advertising, and then we produce the advertising itself. This is the example of my one of my meeting. I divided in three parts, and at the opening, the lecturer delivered the topic for the discussion at that meeting. And we sometimes I ask the students about their knowledge about this situation on advertising. Students are asked to gather with groups because they will discuss about the advertising and the situation, and then some groups are asked to convey the result of the discussion. So uh, um, each groups we I give them some topics, and each group have the different topics. The part two, we will discuss about the topic. So the students gather in groups to create a narrative or story about the role or the work of the advertiser of what they read or they discuss. Some group are asked to play role based on the result of their discussion regarding the role of work and of the advertiser. And then students are asked to try or to apply the analysis of the situation that has been delivered from the teacher. And then at the end of the meeting, the students will make the paper about what they discuss in this meeting, and they make the result into PowerPoint or paper. And the lecture provide final conclusion regarding organization or advertising, which is we discuss in that meeting. This method was piloting as teacher and student. Teacher as a facilitator and moderator, and sometimes given students the case, or they can find the topics itself themselves for discuss in the class. And the students are required to conduct such discussion independently. The percentage of assessment will get by three parts: performance, which is they can presentation about the topic, the case, and mid test or final test before and after midterm, and then they have assignment in the different percentage. I have the video, which is this is situation of discussion and presentation in the class. I hope this video can play. Okay, that's the situation on the class when the student do their discussion, and when the discussion not relevant with the topics, the teacher as a facilitator and moderator, so students are required to conduct such discussion independently. But the lecturer will provide another argument related to the topic, and when the topic's running out of the discussion, lecturer will give feedback to the student discussion, which one the true and which one the false one in the real situation. Thank you. This is the lesson learned for teacher. There were some changes being made on teaching agenda due to the implementation. For example, some topics of discussion before mid-test, we are changed to coincide with the implementation of learning method. There were some topics that cannot use learning by case method, I think. And teachers found some difficulty of implementing LCM on the theoretical discussion. When we talk about theoretical, I think LCM is difficult to implement. And I think this is a lesson learned from students. Students more interested, more sensitive, and have critical attitude towards the company situation or advertiser or organization on advertising. So they can analyze, they can create the real advertising, they can get the real concept of advertising. And student can put into a situation in which they must make us the concept, and the theories or frameworks acquired in other parts of their course through lectures and readings. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and good morning for Francis. At this time, I will share my experience in implementing of learning by case methods. We hope that from this implementation of the learning by case method, the learning outcome is divided in the two for student and also for teacher. The learning outcome for the student is able to identify, analyze, and find the cause and propose the solution in the real problem. and then the student also able to communicate their idea about the solution and the problem in the first learning outcome. And then the third is able to manage class of discussion. For the teacher, the learning outcome is able to motivate student in discussion and also able to facilitate class of discussion. So far, I have implemented learning case method in 2 courses. The first course is quality planning and control. This is for old semester. This semester is the second implementation because last year I have implemented in the same course. This is a number of credit units is 2 credits, and this is the mandatory courses, mandatory course. And this course is for student semester 5. The number of the students, 24 students. This is the for the old semester from August until December, and that I said before that it is the second time I implemented this course in this LCM in quality planning and control. This is the reference that I use in this implementation. You can see that there are 2 reference. For material, reading material, we use textbook. We use 2 textbooks. And for the learning case study, I use from website of Prentice Hall Publisher. I download from the prenthall.com. Also, I found from the other internet resources. Also, I have collaboration with 3 company to provide the case from 2 kind of industry. The first PT Indospring is a manufacturing industry, and the second and the third is for food company. 2 company is maybe is one of the biggest company in Indonesia. This is the second course that I have implemented, Six Sigma philosophy. This is for the even semester, last semester. This is the elective subject, elective course. This is a number of the credit is 4 credits. It is for 6 semester student. Number of student is 29, and the schedule of this class is for January until June this year. This is the reference and material result that I will use. We use reading material from this is the textbook, and then so far I have difficulty to find case from the companies, so I just use the case from internet and from journal, because in Indonesia so far I difficult to find problem about Six Sigma philosophy. In general, this is the teaching plan that we use. For the first at the beginning of this class, I explain to the student the aim of this class, the method that we will use, schedule, and et al. For the case study, I divided the class into 4 groups based on similarity of learning style. We have auditory learning style, kinesthetic, and visual. So it's group, they have similar learning style, auditory and kinesthetic and visual. And we have one group that consists of mixed learning style. So the objective of this debate is about I will analyze how the result of its learning style. Before the discussion about the case study, I will give them short explanation about the case study. After that, the student discussion in the small group. We use the other room or the other class, so they cannot each other teach. They cannot discuss across the small group. After that, in the next meeting, we will discuss in the class. So each group can present the result of the discussion in the class, and maybe in the other group can ask or can give their opinion about the case study. So far, we have maybe 5 case study that I find from the internet or the textbook. At the end of the class, we visit the company to find what is the problem in the company, to find the real problem in the company. Also, we invite someone from the company to give guest lecture in class. So the student can find the real problem from the company, not just from textbook, but from the real problem. At the end of after that, I give the feedback about the discussion, about the result, and so on. And at the end of the semester, we assess and evaluate about the ability for each students. Yeah, maybe I can show you some case study that I use. This is case study from the first course. We have 5 case study. This is the third and fourth. For the third, for at the first, second, and the third case study I get from the textbook, and the case study for number 4 is I download from the penhole.com. Now, the case study number 5 is the real case study from the company, from the PT Industry company, because we have some collaboration with this company, so they want to give us about the problem and the data, so we can make this to be one of the case study. I'm also bring the student, ask the student to go to the company, to PT Industri, and to one of them is a food company in Indonesia. The objective of the visit to the company is to give student broaden view of the quality planning and control, and then to observe implementation of quality management and control in manufacturing. Also to analyze the case study of capability analysis. Capability analysis is one of the topic of this course. This is this case study for second course that I said before that I use case study from the journal, because so far I have some difficulty to find the real case study from company. Yeah. For assessment, we have some rubric to assess the ability of discussion of the student and to assess the presentation capability. Maybe I will show our assessment sheet. This is this assessment sheet that to assess capability of student discussion in the small group. Yeah, I give them score from 1 until 5. 5 is the best, the best mark, and 1 is the worst mark. The second assessment sheet is for presentation capability. Yeah, this is we have 5 criteria to assess the capability of the presentation skill. Also, we have quiz, assignment, and mid exam, and final exam. For two subjects, I use one learning, online learning with schoolwiki.com. This is the free of charge learning system that I can use. I will show you schoolwiki.com that all of the material and all of the assignment of the student uploaded in this website. I will show you some the subject that I have made the oops, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I have 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 or 8 course here. I have 8 class. This is the quality plan and control. We use lesson methods for the old semester. This semester, I mean. So all of material, I uploaded all of material here. Yeah, all of the material of this course I uploaded here, and also the student can upload the assignment here. So you can see here, and then I can make the grading here for, this is the participant of this class, and I can grading here. I show you how to grade the assignment. Yeah. Okay. This is some photo. I'm sorry I don't have a video like Mrs. Brigida. I just have some picture. This is a discussion in a small group. One group consists of 5 or 6 students. After this, they discuss in a small group, they have to, this is the problem from the company. I call the person from the company to present the quality planning problem in his company, and then they have to, and the student have to discuss about the problem from the company. Now this is the presentation in the class. After they discuss in the small group, they have to present their result in the class. So this class is led by the students. I choose one student that, yeah, I think is capable to lead. So he lead the. So you can see that he lead the presentation. Yeah, this is the picture that this one is for picture from in the company, and this one is, this person is from company that I said before. Yeah, also I use YouTube too to upload their assignment in YouTube. I asked them to make the presentation in video, and then I asked them to upload in YouTube. We can see, I will show you some example from, sorry, in bahasa Indonesia, Riz. Yeah, this is the individual assignment. So all of the students must upload this video in YouTube. Okay. Yeah. From the implementation of the learning case method, I have some lesson learned. I think this is like Mr. Francis has presented in the early, but students more active and enthusiastic in the learning process because they have to discuss and presentation. They have to active in class. Students better understanding the concept of the quality, planning and control, as well as Six Sigma philosophy, because they have to face the real problem. And then the student have a greater insight on implementation of quality control and Six Sigma methodology, because they have, I call the person from the company to talk to them. Also, they learn to how to respect each other in presentation and discussion, and make the student more confident in presenting their opinion. The main result of this implementation of LCM is student can understand and solve a case study from different point of view, because maybe the same case study discussed with the for group, and they have their opinion. Students can improve their analytical skill in solving a case because they have to identify the cause, identify the problem, and how to give the solution. And then the student can improve their ability to express their opinion because they have to discuss and presentation in class. The challenge for the next implementation, maybe it is challenging to how to find the case study, comprehensive case study, and how to motivate student, because not all of the students can present it very well. Some students may be silent, some students may be not able to present it well. Thank you very much for your attention. Good evening.
Okay, thank you very much for the nice presentation, Mr. Joko and Ms. Brigita. Now we come to the last presenter for session 7. He is Mr. Abdul Hamid Sheba from Syarif Hidayatullah State Islamic University, Indonesia. Mr. Abdul Hamid Sheba is the lecturer at Faculty of Economics and Business of UIN Jakarta. He has been served as an audit committee of the Islamic Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization in Morocco since 2015 till 2019. From 2006 till 2015, he was a head of internal audit at Syarif Hidayatullah State Islamic University. Recently, he also focuses on improving governance and performance in Islamic higher education. Apart from this, he also joins as the consultant team at Directorate of Islamic Higher Education, Ministry of Religious Affairs Indonesia, in order to assist its strategic management system in IHE. He applied learning by case method or LCM for accounting course and established learning semester plan based on LCM method for accounting major in UIN. So without further ado, Mr. Hamid, the floor is yours.
Tadi udah.
Pak Hamid, if I may guide you, please you can click the menu from your laptop of screen and you can click share my screen.
Komunikat kali. Tunjukannya sudah di itu ya? Sudah diikuti ya?
Sudah sesuai Pak. Cuma itu share.
Share baru apa?
Sharing.
Screen, mas screen.
Screen.
Enggak. Coba share lagi.
Tapi ini harus di
Halo? Halo?
Ya, Pak.
You dengar suara saya?
Yes, I can hear you
Ya.
clearly. Okay, you may have the floor, Pak.
Okay. You can see my slide? Hello?
Yes, yes, we
You
can
can see my
see
slide?
your slide clearly. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay, let me start my presentation. For the first thing I would like to say, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning in European participant, and then good afternoon in Southeast Asia, Indonesia. I will try to describe my experience to implement learning by the case method. I think very interesting method because I am one lecturer in accounting department. It is very suitable for this method related to the accounting department. For the first thing, why actually we choose LCM? Because one of the reason is TTL and then SGL. Because this is the changing of the strategy of method, automatically we need to implement or to push of implementation of LCM. So when we see the conventional method, TTL, teaching center learning, so all students become passive automatically. The result of the teaching process will become less. That is why SGL is a very popular, very modern strategy in order to improve the capacity or the critical thinking or creative thinking of the students. And the second one is the national qualification of framework we call in Bahasa KKNI, also push how to improve the quality or the competence of alumni or graduation in Indonesia. That is why the government of Indonesia try to push the regulation of the national qualification framework. And the last one is competitive advantage. We know that this is a global era, not only how to compete inside Indonesia, but also how to compete international students. That is why we need to manage our students in order to compete international level. We need to share. This is my book we have already produced, Learning by the Case Method. So why we produce actually the book? Because this has become a guidance for all lecture in accounting department. So we try to make obligation, something like obligation to all lecture in the State Islamic University, especially for accounting department, in order to use this method, learning by the case method, because the characteristic of the subject of accounting program study, program in accounting department is very suitable with this method we call case method. This book actually we try to combine not only how to show the lecturer the strategy of teaching, but also how to put in the national qualification framework and also profile or learning outcome. So automatically the guidance for this book we can use also in Indonesia, all universities, especially for Islamic higher education, because this book is very useful for all our lecturers, especially for accounting department. Also, we try to set up program study learning outcome because of learning by the case method. So we don't try to push the scale of competence of student, but also how to push the culture and character, and also Islamic values. So this is a kind of triangle framework. So student, we have to balance. We have to be balanced the three aspects. Because sometimes maybe the student very high score of very high potential for skill and competence, but sometimes the culture and character is very poor, is very low. So automatically we need to balance the three aspects here. So not only skill and competence to get higher score to high competence, but also culture and character. Why actually we put here some values? Because we are State Islam University, automatically we need this kind of distinction or unique of this output. So not only how to master of skill and competence of accounting, but also how to integration of Islamic, integration of Indonesia. So that is why this is distinction of State Islam University, especially for accounting department. And also we try to design a roadmap of we call it Kaizen, or continuous quality improvement for the student. So how to maintain the quality of students in order to get a competitive advantage. So from the first semester until the 8th semester, this is how to maintain LCM here. So LCM is a guidance of for a lecturer in order to implement to all semester, not only, for example, semester 4, but also from the semester 1. So because accounting department has characteristic subject is very suitable with the LCM, learning by decades method. So this is also the roadmap or grand design of strategy of how to maintain our quality or our quality assurance for the students in order to get a high score or high potential, high competitive advantage in the not only Indonesia or national level, but also in Asia or in the world. So still we need to maintain here or to control about culture and character, also skill and competence as Islamic values. Automatically we get competitive advantage. So this is a good strategy, because if we're talking about how to get a high score or high potential, automatically management and strategy, this is two words is very important here, how to manage our class and how to get the target or the goal. So that is, we need to set up strategy, because if you don't have strategy to manage a department, to manage class, automatically sometimes we have a good plan, but sometimes there is no good implementation. Maybe there is not run good so far. Automatically the target or the goal is not we cannot get it. So automatically we need management, and then we need a strategy in order to control our student from semester and the first semester until the last semester. LCM objective for lecture. Actually, it's very good. This is method, because all lecturers sometimes very happy to use this guide as a learning process, as a tool to improve quality of educator. So when implement this method, automatically we need to improve our quality, also our time or our energy, because we need to make a good plan, because the key word here for implementing the LCM is how to make a good plan. So automatically when we say that LCM is a method, the lecturer or the teacher need to make a good plan in before running class. And the third one is a tool to standardize learning process in accounting study program. As I said, all a lecturer or teacher is a kind of obligation of to implement this method automatically we have standard, not only, for example, me, I am as I choose this method, and then also the all lecturer or teacher can implement this method. Automatically, we can say how to standardize of the teaching process. And the fourth one is the success measurement tool for lecture. So we have actually this kind of measurement for a lecturer who implement this method. After semester, we try to evaluate of the lecturer whether this subject or this lecturer has successful to implement LCM. So not only me or two of lecturer in the counterparty, but we try to implement for all students. It's a kind of obligation. And for students, automatically to increase competitive for graduation, to improve the chance of student mindset. This is important things. When to implement the LCM method, automatically the mindset of student must be changed, because from the one direction method of teaching become to make active for a student itself, because talking about LCM, student here must be active every time. There is no, for example, there is no class without preparation. There is no class without contribution. So automatically, there is no student without active in the class. Since student is required to behave real world activity during lecture, so student also now to the real world activity when we running the lecture. And the next is to make student more active in learning process. So as I said here, so no class without preparation. Automatically, the material who we will present in the class automatically already master the student. So how to discuss it in effectively, because they know very well. Suppose they don't understand before running the class automatically, there is no class active. So to familiarize student in preparation the material before the lecture begin, understanding material individually, and then discuss it together in small group. So this design of the class not only how to push individual, but also is a group. So because we have a small group, there is also individual obligation to participate or to give contribution of the discussion of the topic of who is this to discuss. The last one, to familiarize student in discussion current case or issue, or it can be improved students' critical thinking. Learning by the case method progress. The first one is problem, how to get problem. That's why we need to know the problem, because Indonesia still there are much problem we facing. For example, not only private company but also the government. For example, in electronic identity card, also first travel case. We try to push the student how to pick up the case in order to see many aspects, not only accounting aspect, also internal control or regulation on auditing. Also the see many aspects from the case. And then ideas, how to get data, how to get information in order to solve the problem. And then how to link the data with the knowledge of the related to the subject, to the problem. And then learning issue, automatically we try to solve the problem by knowledge currently. And the last one is cause action, how to solve the problem by using knowledge and then by using data. This is implementation of the case method in accounting department. For example, we give example here auditing too, because there are some subject I hold in the accounting department. For example, is internal auditing, and accounting forensic, and investigative audit, and management audit. All is a qualitative aspect, more qualitative. So this is the way to implement LCM in the accounting department, State Islamic University. We try to divide it 5 sessions because this is strategy. Because why we try to divide five sessions, in order not to get boring of the student. We try to make a good environment, a good situation, in order to get maximize of discussion of the student. For example, planning. So planning, we have already set up the group, we have already set up some regulation, some agreement.
Sorry, Pak Hamid, you have 3 more minutes left for your presentation.
Yeah. So the implementation from the beginning, 50 minutes, maybe we call there is something like praying or introduction for from the lecturer, how to run this topic, how to run this subject. And the second one is presentation session. So we give time for students to present, because talking about auditing too, not only talking about the case, but also try to master of the theory in order to solve the problem in the auditing case. And the third session is 40 seconds is discussion session. This is individual. So when finish the presentation session, 40 minutes, we try to push individually how to get opinion, how to get questions, how to give, for example, perception about the theory. So after that, we move to the short case, a small case session, 40 minutes or so. This is, we try to design the class is a round table. If we're talking presentation session is a form class, but short case, small case session is a small group. So there is small group could be come from the topic or the chapter, could be also come the real case. But talking about case, there are 3 cases here. The first one is small case, and the second one is a real case, and the third one is comprehensive case. The small case is come from the chapter, the relevant of the topic of presentation session. And the second one is a real case, for example, is first travel case, electronic identity card case. This is a real case. And talking about comprehensive case is come from the whole chapter, from the first session until the 6th or until the 14th meeting. We try to make the case in order to comprehensive from the first chapter until the last chapter. Automatically, the student will get knowledge about perception, about understanding about all material one semester. Because not only how to discuss about the theory, but how to set up the small case from every chapter in order to understand every chapter, and then we can make the comprehensive case. I think this is the point of the implementation of the LCM in the accounting department, Faculty Economic and Business, State Islamic University. It's very useful, this method. I hope that all university can implement this method, because can improve the quality, not also the quality of student, but also the quality of educator or teacher. So, like for example, me, I am practical lecturer, practical teacher. Automatically, I am very happy with the method, because I am accountant because automatically it's very easy to understand this method. So as we know that alumni of accounting department, a student accounting department will become, for example, CPA, certified public accountant, entrepreneur in accounting, public accounting, and also taxation consultant, also is accounting consultant. So automatically from this method, we improve our capacity in order to face the problem or the case in the reality, not only the company, private company, but also the government sector. I think that's all. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you very much for your sharing, Mr. Hamid, and to all other presenters. It was indeed very interesting and hopefully inspiring to all participants of this webinar. Now we come to the part of question and answer session. We'll read the question. The first question is dedicated to Francis. Hi Francis, I'm Nia from Indonesia School of Netherlands. I have a question. Do you think is this method similar to problem solving method? In the problem solving method, we start from the case. I usually use case like this in the environmental issue in biology. Francis, can you please respond to that question from Ibu Nia?
You can hear me? Yes.
Yes.
No, okay, now you can hear me. I think, of course, she is right when she's saying that problem solving is quite similar to case study because indeed problem solving is part of case method because it's just the part of the case where the problem is resolved, but it does not include the discussions and theoretical background. But it could be considered as quite similar. Yes, it is. Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, Francis, for your response. And for the second question, I can read from Mr. Jomar Di Kaboro. Is this applicable to basic education program? Maybe from Pak Joko or Pak Hamid can respond to the question, please. Pak Joko, perhaps?
Yeah, for the question from Joma, right? For Mr. Jomar, I think the advantage of the case study in higher education is the student can face the real problem because culture in so far in education, the student just learn in textbook. So by implementing the case method, they can face the real problem. So in the if they have to graduate from the university, they have maybe face the same problem. So they can apply the concept well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for Pak Joko. And maybe due to the time constraint, I will only read one more question. Mr. Hamid, maybe you can give response to the question from Ibu Ani Wijayanti. Have you ever found a passive student who don't want to join in the discussion? And then what strategy did you apply? Please, Pak Hamid.
Yeah, actually the first thing we have to introduce to the student because we know that we're talking about accounting department, the characteristic of subject is there are some more quantitative, there are also more qualitative. Automatically, this implementation of learning by discrete model is different because we try to implement in quantitative. Automatically, sometimes you can see the many aspects because talking about numbers, but this is the best to implement a good SCM in qualitative aspect. For example, in auditing, in accounting forensic, also investigative audits. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pak Hamid, for your response, and thank you to all other participants and to all the 4 presenters who have been in this session 7. Now we are moving on to our session 8 for this Indopet webinar.